get to walk in here and undermine me. Not in my department. Not ever.
I'm doing my job, Mark. Shouting doesn't change the numbers or the facts.
Facts? You just cost us the client.
So let's take a step back. Let's calm it down.
She built the company from the ground up. Every floor, every office, every success story. It all started with her vision. But on this particular Monday morning, as she walked through the glass doors of her own headquarters, carrying a coffee cup and wearing casual attire, nobody recognized her. Not as the CEO, not as the founder, not even as an employee. They saw something else entirely. And what happened next would expose a truth so ugly, so deeply embedded in the corporate culture she'd created that it would force her to make the most difficult decision of her career. One VP's words, one moment of casual cruelty, one assumption that would cost him everything.
Dr. Monica Ashford never imagined she'd be here. At 42 years old, she was the founder and CEO of Nexus Innovations, a tech consulting firm that had grown from a one-woman operation in her apartment to a company with 300 employees and offices in 5 cities. 15 years of 70-hour weeks, sacrificed relationships, and countless moments of self-doubt had built this empire. Every motivational poster in every conference room, every company value printed in the employee handbook, every diversity initiative, they all came from her mind, her heart, her lived experience. Monica had always been intentional about the culture she wanted to create. Having faced discrimination throughout her career in the predominantly white tech industry, she'd promised herself that Nexus would be different. The company's mission statement explicitly mentioned inclusion. The hiring practices emphasized diverse candidate pools. The leadership training included unconscious bias modules. On paper, Nexus Innovations was everything Monica had dreamed of. But paper and reality don't always align. It was a Monday morning in late September. Monica had spent the weekend at a leadership retreat upstate, unplugged from emails and phone calls, reconnecting with the vision that had started everything. She'd driven back early that morning, arriving at the office around 7:30, earlier than her usual 9 o'clock entrance. She wasn't expected. Her assistant didn't know she was coming. Monica had dressed casually for the drive. Jeans, a simple black sweater, comfortable boots. Her natural hair was pulled back in a low bun. No makeup, no designer suit, no executive armor. She'd stopped at her favorite coffee shop 3 blocks from the office, the small Ethiopian place where she drafted her first business plan 17 years ago. The owner, Giannis, still remembered her, still called her the dreamer who made it happen. That morning, holding her cardamom-spiced latte, Monica felt grounded, grateful, ready to face another week of the challenges that came with leading a rapidly growing company. The Nexus Innovations headquarters occupied floors 12 through 15 of a downtown high-rise. Monica entered through the main lobby, nodding to the security guard, a newer employee she didn't recognize, who barely glanced at her before returning to his phone. The elevator ride up was empty, quiet, giving her a moment to think about the week ahead. A major client presentation on Wednesday, the quarterly board meeting on Friday, and somewhere in between, she needed to address the tension that had been building between 2 of her senior VPs. The elevator doors opened on the 14th floor, the main executive level. The reception area was empty, too early for the front desk staff. The halls were quiet, lit by the cold glow of motion sensor lights flickering on as she walked. She loved these early morning moments, the calm before the storm of ringing phones and back-to-back meetings. She headed toward her office, planning to drop off her bag and then make her way down to the 13th floor where the operations team was already in motion, prepping for a product launch. But as she rounded the corner past the conference rooms, she heard voices, loud voices, coming from the direction of the executive kitchen. Monica slowed her pace. It was unusual to hear anyone up here this early, especially arguing. As she approached, she recognized one of the voices immediately, Richard Caldwell, VP of Client Relations. Richard had been with the company for 3 years, recruited from a competitor after an impressive pitch about scaling relationships and premium client experiences. He was effective at his job, no question. Revenue had increased significantly under his leadership. But Monica had noticed something over the past year, something she couldn't quite name. A a dismissiveness in certain meetings, an impatience with some team members that didn't extend to others. Small things. Easy to rationalize. Easy to ignore.
Monica paused just outside the kitchen entrance. Through the frosted glass partition, she could see Richard's silhouette, arms gesturing emphatically. Another figure stood nearby, Thomas Chen, the VP of Operations, the other senior leader Monica had been concerned about. Their voices carried clearly into the hallway. "I'm telling you, Thomas, we need to clean house in operations," Richard was saying. "Half these people don't have the sophistication our clients expect. I was in a meeting last week with the Whitmer account, and the ops coordinator who joined the call, I'm not kidding, she had this thick accent and I could barely understand what she was saying. The client noticed. I could see it on their faces." Monica's hand tightened around her coffee cup. She should walk in. She should announce herself. But something kept her rooted in place, listening. Thomas's voice was more measured, uncomfortable. "I don't know, Richard. Our operations team has the best performance metrics we've ever had. Customer satisfaction scores are up 18% this quarter." "Metrics don't matter if the optics are wrong," Richard shot back. "We're trying to land Fortune 100 companies. These clients expect a certain polish, a certain image. And right now, when they look at our team compositions, especially in client-facing roles, they're seeing what?" Thomas interrupted, a new edge in his voice. "You know what I mean. We're trying to project excellence, sophistication, high-level expertise. And instead we've got, look, I'm just being honest here, we've got people who don't fit that image. The diversity quota thing has gone too far. It's affecting our competitive position." The words hit Monica like a physical blow. Diversity quota. As if every talented person of color in her company was there to fill a checkbox rather than because of their skills, their degrees, their achievements. "I think you need to be really careful about what you're suggesting," Thomas said quietly. "That's not what this company stands for." "Oh, come on. Monica's not here. We can be real with each other. I'm not saying anything that half the executive team isn't already thinking. We hired based on optics, and now we're dealing with the reality that not everyone can operate at the level we need. Some people just don't have the background, the polish, the—" Monica stepped into the kitchen. Both men turned, Richard mid-sentence, his mouth still open. For 3 long seconds, nobody spoke. Richard's eyes moved from Monica's face to her casual clothes, to the coffee cup in her hand, to her badgeless sweater. She watched the calculation happen in real time, the assessment, the dismissal, the assumption. His expression shifted from surprise to irritation. "Excuse me, can I help you? This floor is executive access only. Are you with the cleaning service? Because I've actually been meaning to talk to someone. The conference room on the west side wasn't properly cleaned Friday night. There were still—" "Richard!" Thomas's voice was strained, horrified. He'd recognized her immediately. But Richard was on a roll now, stepping toward Monica with the authoritative air of someone used to being obeyed. "Look, I don't know how you got up here without your supervisor, but you need to go back downstairs. Use the service elevator. The executive team will be arriving soon, and we can't have cleaning staff wandering around during business hours. It looks unprofessional." Monica stood perfectly still. She could feel the rage building in her chest, but her face remained calm, almost serene. She'd learned long ago that black women couldn't afford to show anger in professional settings. It would be used against them, twisted into stereotypes about aggression and irrationality. So she channeled it somewhere else, somewhere cold and precise. "I'm not with the cleaning service," she said quietly. Richard barely heard her, already pulling out his phone. "Then I don't know who let you up here, but I'm calling security. This is a restricted floor. You need proper clearance." Thomas moved forward, his face pale. "That's Monica. That's Monica Ashford. That's the CEO." The words hung in the air. Richard's hand froze halfway to his ear, phone in hand. His eyes snapped back to Monica's face, really looking at her now. She watched the realization dawn, watched the color drain from his face, watched the calculation shift from authority to panic. Oh my God, Monica, You're never here this early, and you're not dressed. I mean, I didn't recognize. This is just a misunderstanding. I thought you were—"
You thought I was the help, Monica finished for him, her voice still that same dangerous quiet. You saw a black woman in casual clothes on the executive floor and assumed I was here to clean, and then you proceeded to call security to have me removed from my own building. No, that's not... I mean, yes, but I didn't know it was you. If you'd known it was me, you would have been polite, professional, respectful. Monica took a step closer. But you didn't know. So you treated me exactly the way you treat everyone you deem beneath you, everyone who doesn't fit your image of what success should look like. Richard's mouth opened and closed. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Monica, please? I made a mistake, a terrible mistake, but you have to understand. Oh, I understand perfectly. I understand that the conversation I just overheard wasn't a one-time moment of bad judgment. It's how you actually think, how you actually view the people who work for this company, the people I hired, the talented, qualified, brilliant people who apparently don't have enough polish for your taste. Thomas stood frozen between them, looking like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Monica continued, her words precise and cutting. You said I wasn't here, so you could be real? Well, I am here, Richard. I've been here the whole time, building this company, fighting to create something different, and you've been undermining that work with your honest conversations about diversity quotas and proper optics. I was frustrated. I didn't mean... You meant every word. Monica set her coffee cup down on the counter with deliberate care. And now you're going to face the consequences of that honesty. Richard's panic was palpable now. Monica, please, can we talk about this in your office, privately? I've brought in millions in revenue for this company. 3 years of service. You can't what? Monica turned to face him fully. I can't hold you accountable? I can't expect basic respect and professionalism from my executive team? I can't fire someone who fundamentally opposes everything this company stands for. The word hung between them. Fire.
Richard's face went from pale to flushed. You're going to fire me? Over this? Over one mistake? Monica, be reasonable. I'm one of your top performers. The clients love me. The board will never approve. The board works for me, Monica said softly, not the other way around. And as for your performance, yes, you've brought in revenue. But at what cost? How many talented people have you pushed out with your subtle discrimination? How many team members have felt unwelcome, unsupported, judged not on their abilities, but on whether they fit your narrow definition of polished? That's not fair. You're putting words in my mouth. You never said it to my face, but you said it. In what you thought was a safe space to another executive, you revealed exactly what you believe, that diversity is a quota to be reluctantly met, rather than a strength to be celebrated. That people of color, people with accents, people who don't fit your country club image are somehow less capable, less sophisticated, less deserving. Monica's voice remained controlled, but there was a tremor underneath now, not of weakness, but of barely contained fury. I've spent my entire career being underestimated because of how I look, being mistaken for an assistant, a paralegal, a coordinator, anything but the person in charge. I built this company specifically to create a different kind of environment, and you've been poisoning it from within. I made one mistake. Richard's voice rose, desperation breaking through. One moment of bad judgment. Everyone deserves a second chance. What about forgiveness? What about... This wasn't one moment. Monica cut him off. This is who you are. This is how you think when you believe nobody is watching. And I will not allow that toxicity to continue infecting my company. Thomas finally found his voice. Monica, I should have said something stronger. When he started talking, I should have shut it down completely. I'm sorry, I failed. Monica held up a hand. Thomas,
You and I will have a separate conversation about what it means to be an ally, about the difference between discomfort and action. But right now, this is about Richard. She turned back to the VP, who was now scrolling frantically on his phone, possibly texting his lawyer, possibly looking for something to leverage. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to collect your personal items from your office. HR will escort you. Your access cards will be deactivated within the hour. You'll receive severance according to your contract terms, but that's a courtesy, not an obligation, since what I overheard constitutes a violation of our code of conduct. You can't do this based on a conversation you overheard. I have lawyers. I'll fight this. I'll tell every tech publication what happened here. You'll what? Monica's voice was quiet, deadly. Tell people that you mistook your black CEO for a janitor and then they overheard you advocating for discriminatory hiring practices? Please, go ahead. Tell everyone. I'd love to see how that plays out for your career. The fight drained out of Richard. He stood there, diminished, the confident executive persona completely shattered. This is insane. I didn't even do anything illegal. I just spoke my mind. And I'm exercising my right to decide who represents this company. Your mind, as you've revealed it, has no place here. She pulled out her phone and dialed. Jennifer, it's Monica. I need you in the office immediately. Executive situation that requires immediate HR attention. 14th floor kitchen. A pause. Yes, now. I don't care what you have scheduled. This takes priority. Monica ended the call and looked at Richard. You'll wait here. Don't go to your office. Don't talk to anyone else. Don't send any company-wide emails or try to control the narrative. Your time at Nexus Innovations is over. Richard's last attempt at dignity failed. He stood there, diminished, the confident executive persona completely shattered. This is insane. You're making a huge mistake. The clients I manage, they'll leave. They came to Nexus because of me. If they leave because you're gone, then they were never the right clients for us. We'll be better off without them, and without you. The silence that followed was suffocating. Richard stood there, everything he'd built crumbling around him. Thomas looked devastated, complicit in his silence. And Monica stood perfectly still, her heart pounding, but her face composed, feeling the weight of what she'd just done. This wasn't just about firing one executive. This was about every person of color who'd ever been dismissed, underestimated, mistaken for someone less important. Every woman who'd been told she was being too sensitive. Every talented individual passed over because they didn't fit some arbitrary image of success. The elevator dinged in the distance. Footsteps approached. The reckoning was beginning.
Jennifer Martinez, the HR director, arrived within 20 minutes, her usual calm efficiency replaced by tense urgency. Monica briefed her quickly, clinically, laying out exactly what she'd overheard and what had transpired afterward. Jennifer's face remained professional, but Monica caught the flash of anger in her eyes. She was Latina, had her own history with assumptions and microaggressions. Richard was escorted from the building by 9:47 a.m. By 10:15, Monica had called an emergency meeting with the remaining executive team. She didn't sugarcoat what had happened. She told them everything: the conversation she'd overheard, Richard's assumption about her identity, the immediate termination. And then she asked the question that mattered most. Who else feels the way Richard does? The silence was uncomfortable, but it was honest. One executive spoke up, Marcus Freeman, VP of Product Development, one of only 3 black executives in the room. I've felt it, not from everyone, but from some people. The surprise when I speak in meetings, the double-checking of my credentials, the comments about culture fit when we're hiring that really mean people who look like us. Others began to share stories that had been swallowed, minimized, rationalized. The company Monica thought she'd built,
inclusive, equitable, different, had cracks she hadn't wanted to see. Richard wasn't an aberration. He was a symptom. The next few weeks were brutal. Monica launched a comprehensive review of hiring practices, promotion decisions, and company culture. She brought in external consultants to conduct anonymous surveys and focus groups. The results were painful. While Nexus was better than many tech companies, better wasn't enough. There were patterns of inequity in performance reviews, in client-facing role assignments, in whose ideas were taken seriously in meetings. Some executives left voluntarily, uncomfortable with the scrutiny. Others leaned in, finally able to address issues they'd witnessed but felt powerless to change. Monica implemented new protocols, blind resume reviews, structured interview processes, mandatory bias training that actually included accountability measures. She promoted 3 senior managers to VP positions, all women of color who'd been overlooked for years. The industry gossip was vicious. Tech blogs speculated about internal chaos at Nexus Innovations. Some painted Monica as reactive, emotional, making rash decisions. A few clients did leave, though not as many as Richard had threatened, but other clients reached out specifically to express support. Companies led by women and people of color who'd experienced similar dynamics in their own organizations. 6 months later, Nexus was different. Not perfect, that wasn't possible, but better, more honest. The company lost some revenue in the short term, but gained something more valuable: authenticity, trust, a reputation as a place where talent actually mattered more than appearance. Monica never forgot that Monday morning. Sometimes driving to work, she'd think about the alternate universe where she'd stayed silent, where she'd let Richard's comments slide, where she'd prioritized peace over justice. That version of herself made her sick. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Richard's assumptions weren't unusual. Every day, talented people of color walk into spaces where they're immediately underestimated, where their presence is questioned, where they have to prove their right to be there in ways their white counterparts never do. Every day, Black CEOs are mistaken for assistants, Latina doctors are assumed to be nurses, Asian executives are asked where they're really from. The only thing unusual about Monica's story was that she had the power to do something about it. Most people don't. Most people endure the microaggressions, the dismissals, the casual dehumanization because speaking up costs too much. Because the system protects people like Richard and punishes people who challenge them. Monica's decision to fire Richard wasn't just about one man's bigotry. It was a statement about what she valued, what she was willing to sacrifice to stay true to those values. It was expensive. It was disruptive. It was necessary. A year after the incident, a young Black woman joined Nexus as a junior analyst. During her first week, she stopped by Monica's office, nervously, apologetically, to say thank you. My cousin worked here before, during the Richard era. She told me it was hard, always feeling like she had to be twice as good to be taken seriously. But she also told me about what you did, about the changes you made, and that's why I applied, because I knew I'd be seen here, really seen. Monica thought about that conversation often, about the ripple effects of standing up, even when it's costly, about the responsibility that comes with power, not just to succeed personally, but to create spaces where others can succeed too. The struggle isn't over. Racism in corporate America didn't end because one CEO fired one VP. But every act of accountability matters. Every moment when someone with power chooses justice over comfort creates a small shift in what's possible. So, here's my question for you. What would you have done in Monica's position? Would you have stayed silent to protect the status quo? Addressed it privately to avoid disruption? Or done exactly what she did? made it public, made it costly, made it clear that discrimination has consequences. And more importantly, what are you doing in your own life, in your own spaces, to challenge the assumptions and biases that make stories like this so heartbreakingly common? Because the truth is, we all have power, even if it's just the power to speak up, to question, to refuse to let casual racism slide by unchallenged. Share this story, not because it's unusual, but because it's not. Because there are countless Monica Ashfords out there who don't have the authority to fire their Richards, who have to endure the disrespect and keep going anyway. They deserve to be seen. They deserve to be believed. And they deserve a world where their talent speaks louder than the color of their skin. What will you do to help create that world?